Brian Mortensen here with Coldwell Banker. I'm the branch vice president, and welcome to the next edition of Mortensen Roundup. Today, we have a special guest, one of my favorite agents, Deb Frantti. She's a wonderful agent, wonderful human being, and we wanted to showcase Deb here a little bit on kind of her career path into real estate and get some insight on the big topic out there that a lot of sellers have is, how do I prepare my house for sale? So we're going to jump right into it. Okay. Deb, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
So give us a little story behind you. What inspired you to get into real estate?
What inspired me? Actually, I was unhappy at my job I had back then. I just needed a change, wanted to do something different. My children were both grown now and out of the house, so I knew that I could do something that was maybe going to take a little bit more of my time. And so I've always loved houses. I've always go to the tour of homes, love to see what's out there. And also fell in love with Idaho. My daughter and I took a mother-daughter trip out to Idaho, and I loved it out there and thought, what could I do where I could do a job anywhere, just like have a career that I could just pick up and go wherever. And so got to thinking about real estate. And that's kind of what inspired me, is I wanted to have something that was flexible, that I could just go someplace. And so because of my daughter in Idaho, I
took a family trip. Now you're in real estate.
Now I'm in real estate.
That's perfect. That's a great story.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a lot of sellers out there right now who are getting geared up to sell. Spring market's coming.
Yes.
Here. It's kind of here, but when do you think it officially starts?
Well, gosh, we say February 1st, but it kind of depends upon the snow.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more March 1st, probably.
Yeah, I've always heard like the week after the Super Bowl, so mid-January going into March, but the thing is, sellers are thinking about selling.
They are.
And a lot of them are probably thinking, how do I prepare myself to sell?
Yes.
Well, the first thing is, talk to Deb, right? Talk to a real estate agent for sure. But what are some key preparations that sellers should consider before listing their house?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's actually a pretty darn important question too. There is a lot, there's a lot to consider before you put your home on the market. I mean, I tell people, we sit down and talk about it all. Of course, everybody's situation is different, but we sit down and talk and we take a look at the house. We walk through the home room to room, and I just tell people, take a look at your house with fresh eyes. Most people have a honey-do list. I'm sure you have a honey-do list.
I do, all the time.
I have one for my husband too.
Every day I come home, there's something new to that list.
That's right. Yep. So you really want to take a look at that list. You've been living in your house for so long, and you don't even recognize that maybe your window doesn't have trim around it. Maybe, speaking from experience, your closet door, for whatever reason, the trim is missing around your closet door and has been for a long time. And you just get used to seeing those things not there. So you want to take a look at your house with fresh eyes and really critique it. And what is somebody that's going to be walking into your house for the first time? They're going to notice that there's no trim around that window, or there's no baseboards missing over here. Those are the types of things that you want to get taken care of. Mm-hmm. Maybe you've got a door that the handle makes a little hole in the wall because the little stopper thing isn't stopping it so well anymore.
Got a few of those.
Yep. Fix those holes, patch it up, paint it, touch up the paint, things like that. Just take a look at what needs to be repaired and repair it, because you want your house to show in the best possible light for someone coming in.
So you touched on it a little bit. So you have a seller that reaches out to you that wants help selling their home. First thing you're going to do is meet with them and probably do a walkthrough of the home, you said, right?
Yes.
So what does your walkthrough preparation kind of look like? What's your style? What do you do to help that seller?
Yep. We sit down at the kitchen table. We just sit down at the table. I kind of have a list of questions I ask, some basic things to get them thinking, how old is your furnace? How old is your roof? How old are your windows? Those types of things, if you know those types of things. And then go from there as far as what type of updates have you done? Is this new flooring? It looks really nice. Did you put in new flooring? New cupboards? Those types of things. We just talk about the home and what they've done in it. I also like to find out, what do you love about this area? What do you love about your neighborhood, or your, just all of that. All of those things are so important to find out. Just helps me in the process. And then after we've kind of gotten through all my paperwork, then we take a tour of the home and I start making notes. And then we do talk about, what are some things that you could do to freshen it up a little bit. Paint's always a paint's always an option. Fresh paint does a lot, it does wonders, but oftentimes buyers want to come in also and make that home their own, and they maybe will want to paint it. But if you're a person who has decided to paint their house with these bright, bold, beautiful colors, nothing against it. I'm all for bright and bold, beautiful colors. But sometimes it's maybe a little bit too much for a new person to walk in to have these bright colors. Maybe you do want to tone that down a little bit. So I'm going to just talk with you about that. Sometimes people can do all of that. Sometimes they can take the time and paint, and sometimes they can't because maybe there's health reasons or maybe there's a time constraint. They've got to move for a job transfer or whatever. We just talk through the whole process. Just kind of a funny story.
Yeah.
For us, when we were moving out of our first home, our kids were probably six to 8, and we let them paint the downstairs bathroom because it was their bathroom.
What color did they pick?
It was beige walls, just plain walls, yeah. But they painted a life-size mural in the bathroom of all of us, right down to our black lab.
Oh, cute.
And there was no way I could paint over that when we were going to sell our house. It's like I just couldn't. I couldn't cover that beautiful mural up. So I'm sure that was probably one of the first things the new buyers did. Yeah. But I mean, sometimes there's just various reasons why they can't paint. But if you can paint, sometimes that's a good suggestion to freshen it up.
No, that's great. Now, I think you kind of covered it really well. Sometimes you have sellers who want to do every single thing that's on your list because we want to attract as many buyers as possible. Yeah. And having those neutral tones and beige walls, it's just neutral, right? It's not good or bad, but people can imagine their own stuff in there. That's what we kind of want to have. But that's not always the case. So when you do have sellers who do not want to prep their house in a way to attract as many buyers as might happen, what's that conversation look like?
We talk about it. We definitely talk about that, and I do comparable properties. I've done my research. I've brought comparable properties with pictures, and I show them the houses that maybe there's HGTV houses out there. They're just spotless, and everything's white and beautiful and nice. And then there's some that maybe have the bright walls still, and then some maybe that aren't in as great of repair as they should be. So we just talk about that, and you can see the price point. The market's going to determine, what your house is going to sell for, and we just kind of have that honest discussion about it. Maybe you can't paint it, and that's just fine, but you're probably not going to get this dollar amount. Because look at what that one did. They can see. People can see. You just show them the comparables and just have that conversation. And
then if people need help with painting or repairing electrical, plumbing, whatever the issue is, do you have recommendations for folks? Do you kind of have a laundry list of vendors that you used in the past and have been really good? And
definitely. Okay. Yep, we definitely have a list. And if I don't know somebody personally, I've got my own vendor list that I've put together over the years. And if I don't know somebody, our office is a great resource. I always tell people that. Just send me your request or your concern. Somebody in our office more than likely has dealt with that exact same problem, has had a vendor that has done a wonderful job, or maybe a vendor that you don't want to use, But yeah, we definitely can usually help out in that area.
All right, so we talked about the inside a little bit of the house, how to prepare for that. What about outside? Curb appeal. What do you recommend for sellers dealing with curb appeal?
Yeah. That is another big one. It's obviously if it's summertime, keep your lawn trimmed and your, the weeds out of your garden if possible. I've had sellers hire people to come and do that because they just don't want to or don't have the time, and that's great. But it's important to someone's going to be driving by your house. Well, their first impression is going to be on the internet. They're going to see those photos. It's important to have great photos. I use professional photography, by the way. But you want to have great photos. But when someone's going to park out in front of your yard and they're going to look at it, they don't want to have overgrown lawn, and they don't want to see weeds in your garden.
They don't want to see work.
They don't want to see work.
Yeah.
When they're actually walking up to your house, if they're coming in for a showing, you want to make sure that your entryway, if there's no cobwebs, there's no spider webs, you've kind of brushed that away. It's just nice and clean. Sometimes we've had a hornet nest behind the light. Get those down. We don't want anybody getting stung by a bee while they're there. There's just those types of common sense things, but you just talk through them because sometimes you just don't think about it. You don't sell a house every day, and we do. And so we can suggest things for you.
Well, like you said, you live there for so long, potentially, you just don't notice the stuff. And that's why you need an expert, someone who has an objective way of looking at things to come in and give you some opinions on what to do.
Right.
Okay. Now, we talked about preparation for stuff inside, painting, some fixing things, making it look, relatively nice to list. Talked about the outside. Now, what about staging? Can you explain what staging is and how you use it in your business?
Right. Most people, the majority of my listings, people are still living in the house. And so, and that's fine. People understand they're coming into a house where people are living there. And so it's going to be a lived-in house. There's going to be maybe coats hanging in the mudroom and whatnot. And that's just fine. But I do let people know you're moving. You're getting ready to move. That's your next step. That's your next chapter. So start packing away what you can pack away. Get some of those moving boxes and off-season clothes. Pack them up. Put them in a box. If you have a third stall garage or you just have a garage stall you're not using or a shed, if you can, get them out of the house and put them out there to store them out of the way. If you don't, though, if you don't have that luxury of having an extra garage stall, just pick a room in your house maybe and just start staging everything in that room in nice, neat boxes. Don't just shove them in there. Have it nice and neat, but people are going to be able to understand you're in the process of moving. So pack up your stuff as much as you can. Declutter. Decluttering your house is a big deal. You want your house to feel warm and welcoming, but you don't want it to feel cramped and crowded. So if you've got extra furniture, even oftentimes we get furniture from our family members or a friend and you like the furniture, but maybe you've got 3 chairs in your living room and it's this big. You don't need 3 chairs in that living room. Less is more. So try to stage it appropriately to, appropriate to the size and put those other things in another room if possible.
Well, great. Other tips or tricks when it deals with preparation for your home for sale?
Yeah, one thing with staging, I'm going to mention that if you are, if it's a vacant house, I do recommend vacant houses that they do get staged. I work with a stager who does a wonderful job, and you can stage it so the actual furniture is there when people come, they'll see it, or you can virtually stage it, just meaning that the photographs just get furniture inserted in different rooms. You can do it either way. I personally like the having the furniture there. A lot of people, when they walk into a house, they can't visualize a space. It's tough to know you're looking at this space and it's like, where would my couch go? Where would my chair go? And if you have furniture there already, it just helps them put themselves into that room and visualize their own furniture. So to me, staging is a big deal. If it's feasible for them to afford to stage, I think it's a nice thing to do. Yeah.
Well, what's a good phone number people can reach you at?
Right. If you are looking to buy or sell, you could reach me at 320-309-8669. And yeah, I would be happy to help you love where you live.
There we go. Well, there you have it. Mortenson Roundup with Deb Frantti, great agent here at Coldwell Banker. Some great information on prepping your house for sale. Until next time, thank you so much, and we'll see you later.